Recording already going? Okay, perfect. Hello everyone, and welcome to the University of Michigan's Museum of Anthropological Archaeology Brown Bag Lecture Series. Our speaker today is Hyoungseok Kim. Hyoungseok is a master's student at Chungnam National University, South Korea. His research focuses on dating pottery during the Hansong period of Baekje, as well as studying the relationships between mainland China, the Korean peninsula, and the Japanese archipelago. He's also interested in archaeological theory and methodology. Today, he will give a presentation entitled An Introduction to South Korean Salvage Archaeology and Early Silla Cemetery Site Chadang-ri. This talk will discuss an ongoing excavation run by a CRM firm, and he will explain the different tomb styles and associated burial goods. Additionally, he will explain the context and challenges of Korean salvage archaeology. During the presentation, we ask that you keep your video off and audio muted. Please type your questions in the question and answer box at the bottom. At the end of the presentation, we will have time to answer any questions. Thank you, and please welcome Hyoungseok.
My name is Hyoungseok. And I'm doing master's degree in archaeology at Chungnam National University, and it is an honor to present at Brown Bag presentation. And I really say thank you to Megan's for inviting me here. And my topic of this presentation is Chadang-ri sites and Korean salvage archaeology. It would be nice to think this presentation contains information about Chadang-ri site and share my thoughts about South Korean salvage archaeology through investigation process of Chadang-ri site. I'm still like a lot of knowledge and experience and also English, so I'm not sure if this presentation will be good content, but I try to share as much information as I can. Before we begin the presentation, I have a few things to tell you in advance. First, this presentation contains information until August because I quit the institute as of September. And second, this excavation is held by Daehan Institute of Cultural Properties. And third, regional military security, photos exposed military facilities were excluded. And fourth, before the excavation report come out, be careful to use information of Chadang-ri sites. Okay, then let's start the presentation. This picture is a picture that I've been excavating at in a different field before. And excavation is the most basic act of getting data for us to study. And we study old people's behavior and culture with features and artifacts through excavation. But in Korea, excavation depends on Cultural Heritage Administration's judgment. Excavation of Korea is carried out with the approval of the administration. That means after the business operator conducts a bid for the excavation survey, selected firm submits documents for excavation to the administration. The administration deliberated and they gave approval or rejection to business operator. This process is purpose of to prevent poor excavation. And I show you some statistics of excavation cases in Korea. You can see excavation numbers have increased. This is related to increasing the number of developments and excavating firm. And you can see most of excavations are salvage excavation here. And that means if you see excavation report, it will be salvage excavation report with a high probability. So we need to know Korean salvage excavation to understand Korean salvage excavation report. And I will introduce the process of salvage excavation through case of Chadang-ri sites. Of course, I introduced some information of Chadang-ri sites also. In Korea, we excavate not only researchers, we excavate with workers, and workers are almost elderly and non-majoring archaeology. And also there is a power shovel, and we usually use homi when we are digging. And I introduced about Chadang sites now, and Chadang site is the early Silla cemetery sites corresponding to the period mid 5th and early 6th CE, and it is being investigated by Daehan Institute of Cultural Properties and has been investigating since May this year. And in July, the investigation was suspended due to shooting training. And you can see the map of the 5th century CE in Korean peninsula, and Yeongcheon is located beside Gyeongju. Gyeongju, you know, the Silla's capital. And a specific location is Mountain One area, Chadang-ri, 고경면, 영천시, 경상북도. And let me tell you why this site was investigated. The site was first identified in 2015 by the Cultural Heritage Administration Surface Survey to military units across the country. Since then, Foundation Corporation Korea Institute of Cultural Properties, CRM firm, conducted a pre-excavation survey in 2017. As a result, as you can see the photo, several stone chamber has been identified. After that, Daehan is conducting an excavation now. This is a panoramic view of the Chadang-ri sites. As you can see, the site is quite large, and we can find about 40 tombs and 2 dwellings and 5 buried potteries and some pillar holes. In addition, I recently met Chadang-ri investigators at the conference, and about 50 tombs were identified, and the investigation is currently completed. And I heard that they are arranging data of sites such as actual measurements and jointing of ceramics now. And in Chadang-ri sites, various types of tombs have been identified. And first is wooden chamber tomb. Usually in excavation reports, it is sometimes described as just burial, in Korean, 토광묘. And the reason is that the wood isn't preserved well because the soil is acidic and dry. And nevertheless, the reason why this tomb was viewed as a wooden chamber tomb was that it was not clearly seen in the picture, but there were slight traces of the wooden coffin. So there were actually traces of bone rot in the soil. And next is a wooden chamber tomb with stone mound. And I think this name is actually the name from the dictionary, and I think this is not suitable to use. And I think this one's called wooden chamber tomb and surrounding stone. And as you can see, it is characterized by surrounding stones around the wooden chamber, and the floor is covered with pebbles to support the chamber or coffin. And we couldn't find traces of wood either. And however, when judged as an example of the surrounding sites, it could be seen as wooden chamber tomb with stone mound. And this one is another Yeongcheon site's wooden chamber tomb with stone mound. And next is this tomb's chamber is made of stone and stone chamber tomb. In terms of time, this is the tomb that appears after wooden chamber tomb with stone mounds. And the wooden coffin is enshrined in the stone coffin, and artifacts were buried inside and outside the coffin. And buried artifacts are not much different with wooden chamber tomb with stone mound. And next is small stone chamber tomb. The reason why it is called small stone chamber tomb is that it is actually very small for a person to be buried. You can see the scale over here, and it is about 1 meters. And or maybe it's a young child's tomb, but it's not clear because we can't find evidence that child was buried. And pottery and iron artifacts were also identified in this. And next is dwelling, Bronze Age dwelling, and two dwellings are identified in the southwest area of the site. And as you can see, there are traces of the ground being burned, and I don't know the details now because I didn't investigate when I was there. And in addition, it seems to be a resident dwelling during the Bronze Age, and in fact, there are cases where a Bronze Age dwellings was found in the Silla tomb sites, like Chungnam, this picture, and that means maybe the Bronze Age people lived near the hilly areas at that time, and Silla people used that area as a cemetery after that, I think. And next is buried pottery feature. The reason why it is named as a buried pottery feature is because, as you can see, large pottery is buried separately, and in fact, there has been a study on the remains of the burial mounds in the stone lining tomb of Baekje, but it is still not clear why the pottery was buried separately. And the excavated artifacts include pottery, such as mounted dishes and lid, and mounted jar with long neck. These two potteries are the main types of Silla pottery in the relative dating study, like typology. And we can see other potteries like cup and mounted pots or software pottery things about the Silla. And we found some iron artifacts and gold earrings. And as you can see, horse accessories and some weapons were identified, and we can know which part of horse accessories is because of the horseback riding figure pottery from Yeongcheon, Gyeongju. And after the remains are excavated, we should not simply guess the culture by just features and artifacts. Various factors should be considered, such as in what context the features were made and on which floor the artifacts were excavated or the location of the features. But it is easy to miss these parts in the process of salvage archaeology. And this is because salvage excavations should be investigated well by the minimum time. And it depends on the sites, but the situation is often urgent. And let's compare with academic excavation in Korea. And this picture is layer of Pungnap Castle sites, castle wall. And as you can see, the layer is divided really detailed. And of course, it's because it's academic excavation, and so there were more experts and more time to investigate. But there are a few cases of this detailed investigation at the salvage excavation sites having enough time. And of course, that process is reflected in the excavation report. If so, let's check the process of salvage excavation in Chadang-ri sites. First of all, the excavation strategy is different depending on the investigator and the environments of the site. But it's not different in a big way, but there is a difference in detail. And Chadang-ri sites was pre-excavated in 2017, I told. There is a 5-year gap before the excavation. So our team go to the sites and check the situation to establish the strategy first at the first day. And at the same time, we confirmed excavation area. So this photo is making a line of the site. And we set up an area that is far from middle. We call that area Area 1, and we call the middle area Area 2. So we investigated Area 1 first, but the feature in Area 1 wasn't a tomb, and it turned out to be simply on rocks in ground, and in other words, it was the wrong judgments of the pre-excavation firm. And next, we start removing the topsoil of the Area 2. And Let me explain power shovel for a moment. And depending on power shovel man, there were some cases that features or artifacts were destroyed. And also these cases also occurred in Chadang-ri. And it is efficient to get rid of topsoil. But people's hands are sophisticated, but the characteristic of salvage archaeology, the time is very important. So the fastest way is conducted. So at least one investigator must monitor the power shovels work at all times. And we decided to check pre-excavation trenches in area 2 to find out the location of the features first. After checking trenches, we were able to locate some of the tombs. Among them, in this trench, you can see this tomb was damaged by the pre-excavation trench. As you can see, the artifacts all exposed. So we didn't know if pre-excavation firm made a mistake in digging because we didn't participate, but it was destroyed anyway. This is a problem that occurs when the excavation and pre-excavation firm were different. And after checking the pre-excavation trenches, we found the features one by one by removing the topsoil from the surrounding area of trenches by power shovel. And when the stones were gathered, the researchers and workers exposed them by hands. And usually in this process, we also need to find the thumbs line, but it was really difficult. I told you already, this is because the land was very dry, and Yeongcheon and Daegu, Gyeongsan near the Yeongcheon is one of the least rainfall areas in Korea. And in addition, this region is very hot in summer because it is a basin. So the solution to this was to spray water with the water spray. In this way, it took almost 7 weeks to find about 40 graves, 40 tombs, and then we decided to conduct an investigation inside of tomb. However, these sites encounter some variables. Usually, many excavation sites conduct surveys on non-rainy weekdays, but this site was in the shooting range of military units. So there were shooting training someday. So on that day, we couldn't investigate due to safety problem. However, as shooting training took place for a month in July, we faced a situation to stop investigation. So before the suspension, we started investigating the tombs about a week or two ago. We conducted investigation inside of tomb number 1 and number 3 and number 4. Number 2 was damaged a lot, so we skipped it. This is number 1, and number 1 was located at the highest points on this site. And I thought that the tomb probably collapsed because it was on the slope. And as a result of the investigation, we were able to find traces of the wooden chamber line or coffin, and several artifacts were excavated. Many pottery shards and various horse accessories and gold earrings were identified here. Gold artifacts were often excavated from Silla tombs, and nevertheless, by the gold earrings and horse accessories, these tombs presumed that the owner of this tomb was a man who has high status. And number 3 and number 4 were formed much lower than number 1. In the case of number 3, the ditch has been identified, and number 3 was also partially destroyed southwest part. Number 4 was also cut off, and it was not extending northwest way. Northwest way is here. And It seems that the terrain of the northeast was higher than now, and in number 4, some puzzle shells and iron X were identified. There's a story about this steel X, and one of workers who was excavating with me kept trying to scratch this X by homing to get rid of the soil attached to X. And in that case, the X would have been broken or broken with a high probability. And this doesn't happen if workers have a lot of experience, but most of them don't have a lot of experience. So if I don't keep watching him, maybe he destroyed this X. And to another cases, if researchers don't keep watching workers, there were some cases that a lot of features and artifacts is damaged. Of course, once it is destroyed, it is impossible to recover in high probability. So researchers have to be really careful. The investigation was resumed in August after about 1 month of suspension, and there were some problems on the sites during the July. Weeds grow and the rain damaged some of the terrain, and it took time to rearrange problems. So we finished to investigation number 1, number 3, 4, 5, 10, 11, and wooden coffin number 1, and small stone coffin number 2 and 3. And I share some features that relatively important things and some problems. Again, number 1, and we found more iron artifacts under the soil. And if time was tight, maybe we missed these artifacts. So we will know these things later, and we will record this very quickly. So that leads to a poor records in excavation report. So we can find buckles and arrowheads. And next is number 5. This was damaged a lot, you can see, and it means original terrain was more high than now. So we need to imagine past landscape, and we need to see this one from the excavation report in Korea. And this is number 11. You saw this already, and number 11 is destroyed by pre-excavation trench, but we can find a lot of pottery preserved very well, and that means if this tomb was not damaged, this tomb can show a lot of information about stone chamber tomb in this site. So yeah, it is really bad. And this is number 1 wooden chamber tomb. We found interesting things in this tomb. We found combination of lead and mounted dishes, and lead was earthenware and mounted dishes was stoneware. And our team leader said this combination often found in Silla's sites, also in Gyeongju. And we can find a line well in this wooden coffin, but we can find a line in this photo, but our team leader can find a line in here. So now maybe they draw a line on this tomb. And this one was not investigated until August, but I want to tell something about this. You can see the protection stones in the red circle, and in first, our team recognized that was a part of tomb, but our new team leader, before the July, the team leader is measuring Mahan's dwelling, but our new team leaders is measuring Shila's pottery and tomb. So after he see this stone, he think it is a protection stones, but before the team leader said maybe this is kind of the parts of the tombs of the stone chamber tomb. So that is kind of different interpretation by the expert. So the importance of the sites of another experts is important to record information into the excavation report. So problems occurred in August. And we have another problem when we were in excavating, and there were some communication problems, and tombs are investigated at the same time by all researchers. So all researchers were not expert of the Silla, including me, and there were some communication problems, and that leads to some mistakes, like more digging the tombs or broke the pottery. And unfortunately, nowadays, insufficient number of investigators compared to increasing number of excavations. So that means if we need some more experts, but we can't hire experts a lot nowadays. So current researchers have too many tasks, and that leads to negligence in monitoring workers. So then lead also another mistakes by workers. And more, some firms investigate so many sites, like if one site's ends, then they start to research on other sites right away. So that means researchers don't have time to write an excavation report. I share some example. This is feature layouts of Hapyeongri sites in Chungju. It is sites of the countryside sites of the Baekje and Silla, and you can see the long ditch across the features. And the excavation firm interpreted this ditch as waterway, and the stone around the ditch might be a trace of road, but my professor Sunbar Park said it was wrong because on a cross section of ditch, there was not a trace of waterway like sand holes. Also on a cross section, there were a kind of flat repaired evidences. So the ditch was a road and the excavation report was wrong. So I want to say we need to see excavation report critically. The interpretation of the report is not unconditionally correct, and investigators need their own. So investigators need their own efforts to keep the maximum record to the excavation report, so that the scholar can't interpret many interpretation. And there are problems with investigators sometimes, but there are more practical problems, like time constraints cases came from stakeholders, or some variables like rainy days or on other things. So it needs for institutional actions, it is very difficult to say, but yeah, we need to think these ones together in Korea. Oh, my presentation is end so quickly, and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Hyoungseok, for that great presentation. So now we'll turn to the question answer portion. As a reminder, please type any questions that you have in the question answer box on Zoom. There's a button at the bottom of your screen that'll put that up. So we actually have a couple of questions already. So we have a question from Mark that basically saying, it seems that salvage archaeology has this issue where even if there are significant finds, the project stops. Is this true, or is this true for all like salvage archaeology in Korea, or is this with this particular project?
Um, um,
I can rephrase the question if that helps.
Please.
Okay,
Thank you.
so kind of why does a CRM project stop in kind of an arbitrary way, even if there are significant findings? Like, why does an excavation stop?
Excavation stop. It's kind of suspending things. Because it is related to stakeholders, and Chadang-ri site's stakeholders is the military units, and military units said, our time is okay. We are not fit to construct a shooting range, so we can suspend 1 month. Very special case in salvage archaeology in Korea. So it is not rare situation, but because the excavation is going continuously because the time constraint is very important part of the salvage archaeology. So maybe we maybe waste time to rearrangements or like growing weeds or rainy things, and also we cover the we call GAPA like protects protection on the feature, and also if we covering protection and uncovering protection also needs a lot of times, like about 1 hour or 2 hours. So it is related to the time. So I think the excavation is cannot stops.
Okay. Let's see. So we have another question from Ying. Is there any difference between wooden tomb and stone tomb in terms of buried material culture, like potteries?
There is pottery is all similar, not that difference are founded. So not dramatically different.
Okay. Is it like related to time period, or why would one group do a stone chamber tomb versus a wooden tomb?
It's related to relative dating of the pottery typology. Shilla's dating is almost by typology. So they divided terms by the pottery's type. So it is very little difference between the pottery. So yeah.
Okay. And now we have a question from John. Let's see. In many countries where research institutions and funding are limited, CRM is one of the best ways to approach the past in archaeology, but also in big scale operations. What is the nature of the contribution of CRM to Korean history?
CRM nowadays almost excavation is held by CRM firms, but I think CRM in Korea is kind of is lowest position in the archaeology because I told that experts are getting decrease now, and CRM firms are very hard to work, and so many scholars didn't want to go CRM firms in Korea. So of course, CRM firms excavate a lot of sites, and they give uh, they contribute a lot of things in the archaeology in Korea, but I think the recognition of the CRM firms in archaeology is not that good right now.
I see. I had a question. You were talking about the excavation report, and I was just curious, to whom does the excavation report get shared to? Other CRM firms? Does it get shared with the public at all? What do people do with this excavation report after?
Oh, excavation report shared to all people for free, and but almost scholar use excavation report to research them study. So yeah, not normal people don't see excavation report a lot, and I never see normal people see excavation report.
Okay. So we've got another question from Jani. Are the CRM excavations followed up by analysis of the excavated material and publications? What happens with the findings from a CRM excavation?
Oh, of course, in the excavation report, they analyze some materials like carbon dating or another organic analysis things, but it is not all excavation report, but depending on excavation report, some excavation report analysis a lot of things, and some excavation report analysis very few things, and it depends on institute or CRM firm.
Okay. So it seems like the institute or CRM firm has a lot of say for what happens after an excavation project, like how much analysis gets done. Is that true?
Can you question again?
Sure. So you said before it depends basically on the organization or the institution. So I'm saying it seems like with Korean salvage archaeology, there's a lot of constraints, a lot of the excavation is really organized by what the directors want you to do and how much analysis you do afterwards. Is that true?
Yes,
Yeah.
because it is related to money. So directors wants to excavate a lot of sites and really sophisticated. So the researchers thinks this CRM's excavation is very hard to do.
Okay. I have another question. So you had talked about the importance of having a team leader who knows the history of the particular site that you're working at. And so for this project, the first team leader didn't seem to know Silla's context very well. Is this a common problem in Korean CRM archaeology, or
I don't know that very well, but I think it is kind of a problem because in first CRM firms excavate their region, like Daehan institutes in the Damyang in Jeolla. So they excavated sites in Jeolla, reason a lot in the past, but nowadays, by the law, for avoiding the poor excavation from a private contract with stakeholders, so the administration say excavate to another region, like Jeolla firms excavate in Seoul, and Seoul firm excavate in Gyeongsang-do things in. So it is high probability to the researchers in Seoul may know Baekje a lot, and Gyeongsang-do firms researchers know Silla a lot, but the Gyeongsang-do firms researchers, if Gyeongsang-do firm researchers investigate in Seoul sites like Baekje, they don't know well about the Baekje, so they miss some important things in Baekje. And that things maybe reflect the excavation report sometimes. So I think that is a kind of problem.
Yeah. Why would they get assigned to a different region if they are from this other region? So for example, you were saying Seoul researchers are experts in Baekje, Korean archaeology. Why would they then get assigned to another region in South Korea when there are already archaeologists there?
Yeah, I told you, because that is the purpose of to prevent poor excavation from the private contract. Yeah, so because if maybe stakeholders and directors are friendly, maybe stakeholders can request, please excavate very fast, and please write excavation report like it is not to be preserved, and that leads to this destroy of the sites, and yeah, that is really leads to bad situation to interpret another many information about that region. So Korean Cultural Heritage Administration thinks that is very big problem, and so they act like that.
Okay. Are there any other questions from anyone in the audience? Just as a reminder, if you have a question, just type it into the question and answer box on Zoom. I guess I had one final question, which was like, salvage archaeology has a timeline, a time constraint. So everybody has to dig very fast and very efficiently. If you find a significant artifact and stuff like that, like what is the process of sort of recording it, and just do things stop, or do you just kind of continue on as normal as if it was just kind of a regular thing? Like how does a significant find, I guess, what am I trying to say? How does a significant find, does it influence the timeline of Korean salvage archaeology?
Like important things.
Like the earring, for example?
Actually, in the process of the salvage archaeology, there are advisory meetings sometimes, but it is most conducted in the end of the sites. But if the researchers finds very important things, like you said, gold earrings, or like crown things, and they make advisory meetings with experts. So, and they talk about like extension to the excavation period things. So if researchers thinks the time needed more, and they report to the administration and called advisory meeting, and yeah, they discuss about that, and yeah, results, yeah.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So if they do find a very significant find, then they'll make a case for extending the time frame allowed to dig. Okay, well, great, thank you so much. If there are no other questions, which I'm double checking now. If there are no other questions, thank you again, Hyoungseok, for speaking with us and everyone else for coming out today. We hold these talks almost every Friday at 12 p.m. in person or on Zoom. So stay posted for our next brown bag, and we'll see you later. So thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Yeah, I'm sorry for my bad English.
No, you were great. Thank you.